Popularity Index reveals that Battlefield 6 might be making fun of Call of Duty.
Bombastic series that never got bad, exactly, but maybe lost a bit of its identity in chasing the all-conquering Call of Duty. The diehards will tell you that Battlefield 2042 is a great game now, after years of post-launch support, but Battlefield 6 needs to be a classic, a game that's so good that it can carve out a space in the most cutthroat and quality-packed shooter landscape there has ever been. Is it quality-packed? Is it cutthroat? It just seems like Call of Duty's been the only thing for the last...
Alright, so Battlefield devs supposedly made fun of Call of Duty for still having their game on the old consoles, where they're literally doing that because they still have a player base there. And, you know, Battlefield doing that was a bit of a low blow in my personal opinion. They're saying, okay, because we don't have the old engines, we can actually make this much destruction. And, you know, Call of Duty cannot do that. It absolutely could do. The issue is there's such a big player base on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One that really there's no reason for Call of Duty to do any type of destruction. And it definitely is possible. Just look at Battlefield 4. The issue with Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3 is the destruction there is very much limited. It is not doing anything at that point. It does have Levolution, which is basically pre-rendered events, while Battlefield 6 seems more like, you know, it could explode from anything, anywhere, but we might just have to wait until today or tomorrow to actually see who wins that battle, right? Because Call of Duty isn't fully out yet. All right, let me read some of this. Battlefield 6 launches this Friday. The latest issue we are seeing here is the most important factor. When we wanted to do something in the near future, we looked at other Battlefields from the same era, says lead producer Nika Bender. We knew that Battlefield 3 and 4 were fan favorites, and we were leaning into what really worked. And I'm not too sure why they just do that, you know, when it was actually the most important factor for them, which was maybe 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. If they just listened to the fans 5 years ago, that's why Call of Duty was winning so much until recently, when they just stopped listening for some reason. And what we're seeing here is basically a lot of these new, you know, games wanting to compete with Call of Duty and them never reaching up to it. Whenever other struggles the series may have had, best-in-class property destruction has never really been one of them. And this is the one thing, you know, didn't like there was a competitive game that went ahead with Battlefield's level type of destruction. What it was called, it was basically a trio mode. But here, Battlefield might shine, with our man saying that he only thing truly unexpected from Battlefield's destruction is how pretty and well optimized it is, with performance remaining rock solid even as the map comes apart around you. Now, this is one of the main and core reasons why, you know, people are buying Battlefield. For the other parts, it is actually probably not that, you know, different from other games. It is cool that you can actually fly airplanes, but you can also do that in more realistic games, Arma and things like that. And, you know, Call of Duty really wins with the type of fast-paced gaming they have and zombies. That is one pattern where they really can win for the long term, in my personal opinion. Maybe the only magic trick is we're not on PS4 or Xbox anymore, says Christian. So we've kind of raised the floor of what in terms of memory and CPU speeds, and obviously raising the floor helps improving performance overall. So since we're trying the game to run on a PS4, for example, I mean, that's great, but you're missing out on like probably 20-25% of the sales from people still not being able to afford a PlayStation, or people just preferring to play on older consoles. You know, when your kid is gonna ask to buy the new Battlefield game and you're only gonna have a PS4, what are you gonna settle for? You're gonna settle for Black Ops, you know, and that's really where Black Ops wins. It just has 4 times more the revenue and also 4 times more the budget, which feels kind of unfair, but the reviews just came in for Battlefield and it was rated slightly below average, like the campaign. So that is another thing that, you know, Call of Duty will always win, is just
others. With PCG's Jake Tucker left Agog at the streamlined first-person shooter that captures the magic of the series in its early days. Maybe a strange thing for a new shooter, but there really is one of the big selling points for Battlefield 6.
Just what type of movie-like scenarios it has. It has literally the production team of a Marvel studio at this point. But Battlefield 6 has already shown this kind of solid performance, and while thanks to its beta, Again, beta was full of bugs, but let's not mention that because that's what betas are for. So we're going to give them the pass here. And though somebody pointed out that this is aided by being focused on smaller maps. Bull said this was deliberate because they wanted to use beta to focus and fine-tune gunplay, and that's just easier on smaller maps. He acknowledges that it made it technically easiest, but says the big boys will be present and correct at launch. Obviously. So I feel like this is a pretty clear idea of what, Call of Duty here still wins. I remember when Battlefield 1 versus Advanced Warfare. That was a battle since 2016, and who won in the end was obviously Modern Warfare with 4 times more the sale, even though everybody said Advanced Warfare will lose at that point.
All at the same time. And it's only now in the modern era of 2025 where all these companies are trying to figure out where they lost their way. Even though us, the gamers, have been screaming it all along. For the Battlefield franchise, they never wanted Battlefield to be Call of Duty. That was what always made Battlefield great, was that the fact that it wasn't Call of Duty. And for Call of Duty, it was not having all these stupid cosmetics inside of the video game and algorithms that manipulate the experience. Now, one franchise, Battlefield's listened to its community and they're being rewarded by the community for that effort. And the other franchise, Call of Duty, is pretending to listen to the community and is being absolutely abused by the community because of it. The article continues.
And this is very well said by Intel. We're seeing tons of stuff actually on the rise here, and it's tons of this hatred because the companies simply wouldn't listen. They lost a touch with their player base because of all the money. We're talking about billions and billions of dollars. Didn't Xbox buy Activision for 55, 56 billion? And again, with so much money, you start to think, okay, maybe I know better than the fans themselves, than people who have played the games for 15 years. So I'll leave you at that, guys. What do you guys personally think? I think it was a pretty awesome video, but it seems like that Call of Duty is still going to win this year in terms of sales. But if you disagree with me, I invite you to come to the comments below, and I'll keep you guys updated with more news.